Good evening. I want you to reflect on the last time that you went to the grocery store. Did you pay attention to the food packaging labels, and did you see one that said non-GMO? If you did you really know what it meant? I'm Lee Carver, and tonight I'm going to talk to you all about what GM food stands for, the process in which it undergoes, the effects that it has on animals, humans, and the ecosystem, and the current regulation agencies that are in place in America today. Firstly, GMO stands for genetically modified organism, or genetically modified food. Many people do not realize that we have been altering food since the beginning of agricultural time, using selective breeding, which is a process where farmers would deliberately choose certain crops or animals due to the way they tasted or their ability to survive in certain climates. Before modern day technology, farmers were not aware of the modifications on a genetic level. They were solely making these choices based off of observations. But now, using biotechnology, people can genetically change the DNA sequence of an organism. This happens through a process called transformation, where a desirable trait or DNA sequence is cut out of one organism and then inserted into another organism, which alters the genes in that original organism. This process is mainly used to enhance food quality. The next time you go to a grocery store, take a look at the non-GMO food, or otherwise known as organic food, and compare it to the genetically modified food. You'll notice that the organic food is kind of uglier than the genetically modified food. Now let's talk about how GMO food can affect animals, humans, and the ecosystem. Because the use of genetically modified food is relatively new, the process and the usage is undergoing intense research to determine the effect it has on animals and how that correlates to humans. Because it is unethical to test on humans, most of the research that has been done on animals. There was a study done at the National Institute of Toxicological Research using rats. Researchers divided the rats into Group A and Group B, where Group A received genetically modified potatoes and Group B received non-genetically modified or organic potatoes. After a month, researchers compared reports in their livers, spleens, stomachs, and other internal organs and found that there was no significant difference. This is just one of many studies that comes to this conclusion, that genetically modified food might not have a huge impact on our health. If we take a more holistic approach into the world of genetically modified food, you may begin to wonder what effect that this could have on the ecosystem. The ecosystem is an overly complex, interconnected web of all living things, and it's safe to assume that there could be possible risks to the natural order of the world. In the western United States, there has been reported a reduced amount of emigration with crickets due to pesticides used. A pesticide is essentially a substance injected or sprayed into crops, and it makes the crop or object less desirable to insects who would normally feed on them. Because the crickets are no longer returning to these farms, there's another population that's being affected by this, and they're the wolf spiders. So the wolf spiders would normally feed on the crickets, but since there's no longer crickets coming to these farms anymore, the wolf spiders population is declining because they have to fight so much to get the minimal amount of crickets that are there, and oftentimes they don't have enough food, so their population is declining a lot. This is one out of thousands of examples that the ecosystem is likely to be altered due to the increased use of genetically modified foods. Lastly, we will explore the regulation agencies in America. Responsibility is divided between 3 agencies. So we have the Environmental Protection Agency, the Food and Drug Administration, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The Environmental Protection Agency is a federally funded agency that devotes time and resources to protect the human and environmental health. The Food and Drug Administration are responsible for protecting public health through the control and supervision of food safety. And the U.S. Department of Agriculture is a federal executive that is responsible for developing and enforcing federal law related to farming and food. All 3 work together to determine what can be sold to and consumed by the public. Tonight we have gone over what genetically modified food is, how it can affect animals, humans, and the ecosystem, and the current regulation, policies, and agencies in America. It is important to be aware of what goes in our bodies because it can have a huge impact on our overall health. We are all well aware of what healthy food and unhealthy food and how that can affect our bodies. And right now we're currently undergoing the long process of understanding what genetically modified food does to our body. Hopefully, after this, the next time you go to the grocery store and you see the food package that says non-GMO or GM food, you'll know the difference. Thank you.